And how was the tunnel detected? Was it open or was it?
So as we looked at it, as you would expect, we had an opportunity to study this pretty carefully. We came to the conclusion we should expect possibly a tunnel feature there. So that was the first thing that we took a look at, and then the interrogation of people on the objective allowed us to gain a better appreciation of where it might be. And then, as you know, we just have a variety of things that I can't go into, one of them being the working dogs that are very good at scenting humans and going after them when they're not immediately obvious. So that's sort of how we came to that conclusion. The key thing is, we actually established physical security around the compound, got the non-combatants off, and that gave us a little bit of time to work the problem. You're always worried in a situation like that the house might be rigged, so you got to pay attention to that. There are a variety of things that the raid force commander has to balance on the ground, and I think they did a remarkable job of doing that.
All right, so I've just been given notice that the event in the White House is going to start shortly.
Well, that was a very nice answer, but the question was, how was the tunnel detected? Was it open? Did we get any description of the tunnel? Did we get any video of the tunnel? Did we get any answers to the question, how did they excavate the tunnel so quickly to make an ID in 15 minutes? This whole entire story looks like a Hollywood presentation. It almost looks like the moon landings once again, and we're forced to ask the question, is this real? How real is it? Under what circumstances? I mean, this could be from a completely different conflict. This could be a training exercise. In this footage here, we certainly don't see the surrounding buildings. There's a lot of questions. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, we don't necessarily like asking these questions. We have the utmost respect for those that would put on the uniform and defend our country and for the values that it stands for. However, the timing of this entire operation is rather impeccable, to say the least. We've got lots of questions and lots of new footage to look at. This is more drone footage of the strike. Now, you'll notice that this is fairly new. You probably haven't ever seen this drone footage of the strike at the compound. This seems to be an initial softening strike as they were proceeding with the operation. So what we can gather here is that at some point in time, they actually did this. Compared to, I suppose we really need to bring out this other video. Okay, so this is the mushroom cloud. So we're trying to analyze all of the video. So we're going to correspond. So this is the video that they released during the Pentagon briefing. So, and supposedly it left nothing but powder for the most part. But this is different. This is a different strike than this that just came out. And the reason that it's interesting is it looks like, before they actually leveled the place, this happened. And we don't necessarily see anybody around it. So we're just trying to put together the timeline as far as what videos are out there concerning this particular raid. And the reason that we're asking these questions, again, is because they've claimed that this ISIS leader has been killed numerous times. We know that ISIS was founded by Obama, and looks like Lindsey Graham and John McCain back in the day as part of the retribution program against the Russians after they gave Snowden asylum. So there was the Ukraine revolution, then there was the Syria operations, which was, ISIS, Benghazi, the works. So, who are these people? How real are these people? Is the question that we should be asking. Of course, everybody knows Osama bin Laden was an asset that was used for 9/11. That was an inside job. Couldn't have been done unless we completely stood down. There's tons of evidence there. I'm sure people have seen the videos. So this is nothing new. It's another Operation Northwoods. People ask the same questions about the Osama bin Laden raid, and soon after was the SEAL Team 6 disaster, ladies and gentlemen. Another cover-up, another Seth Rich, another Jeffrey Epstein, to say the least. Now, a lot of questions have been raised since the very beginning. At first, they were talking about whimpering and crying. That seems to be unconfirmed by officials at the Pentagon. Let's see if we can play that clip.
Whimpering. Could you hear that on your video hookup? The whimpering of Baghdadi. I don't want to talk about it, okay. But he was screaming, crying, and whimpering.
Oh, there was that one. I think we had other...
Our forces isolated the compound and protected all the non-combatants. While clearing the objective, U.S. forces discovered al-Baghdadi hiding in a tunnel. The assault force closed in on Baghdadi and ended when he detonated a suicide vest. Baghdadi's remains were then transported to a secure facility to confirm his identity with forensic DNA testing. And the disposal of his remains has been done and is complete and was handled appropriately.
I don't know what the video guy is doing, but anybody with an IQ over 80 should have been asking the question, well, how did they excavate the tunnel so quickly after the suicide?
Was there any kind of DNA test done?
So that's another part of the genius of these people. They have his DNA, more of it than they want even. And they brought it with them, with lab technicians who were with them. And they assumed that this was Baghdadi. They thought visually it was him, but they assumed it was him, and they did an on-site test.
They assumed, they did an on-site test. Nothing looks really, sure and confident here. And we're getting this pretty much throughout the press conferences and the like. It seems a little less than credible, if you know what I mean. And the reason that we're bringing this up again is because of the timing of this entire operation. Of course, Epstein was murdered just a few months ago, and ever since then we've had a long string of Gladio B events as a way to distract people away from that murder, that Seth Rich, that Vince Foster, that Andrew Breitbart, that, Julian Assange, and the like. So there's just way too many of these things to really ignore. And you might be asking yourself the question, well, Johnson, why are you going to be so mean?
I probably identify more as a Democrat.
Would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses.
That is correct. I really believe the Republicans are just too crazy right. I mean, hey, I lived in New York City and Manhattan all my life, okay? So, my views are a little bit different than if I lived in Iowa.
So, look, I think everybody wants to like this guy, but there's a question about, who is he really? He worked on The Apprentice for 10 years, NBC, lifelong Democrat, holding up the flag, LGBT for Trump. We got this newly discovered footage, witches for Trump, and you're not going to believe this. I almost, don't want to bring it up, but it seems like they had a witch hunt party in Transylvania. And there was a group there. We thought we were going to see witch hunt, but no, instead it's like witches love Trump. And we're like, really? And I think that's Kellyanne, but don't quote me on that. She's a wonderful girl. Super bright, but, and you feel terrible about the whole situation. I mean, you saw the impeachment headlines today. It seems like, we're reliving the Nixon years all over again. It's a Halloween nightmare. 1 year later, ladies and gentlemen. And look at this. You know, the vote, write down party lines. It's going to be a show trial. It's going to be an O.J. Simpson trial for the next year, you know, during the campaigns and the like. And the worst part about this is that they actually have evidence. They do. It looks really, really bad. You just have to wonder if they didn't do this on purpose or if there's something else going on. They seemed rather careless.
Isolated the compound and protected all the non-combatants. While clearing the objective, U.S. forces discovered
Oh, the video
al-Baghdadi
guy's fired. But, you know, it just seems like they're doing everything they can to self-destruct and to take the Republican Party down with it. You have to wonder if that isn't part of this new plan. We've seen this happen in other countries as a way to just kind of move ahead. So we've got...
I probably identify more as a Democrat.
Would be fine with her using any bathroom she
We got the lifelong Democrat that really isn't able to deliver on what truthers were expecting. Now, you know, money managers, they're loving this guy. But as far as truthers that were looking for some 9/11 truth, an end to the chemtrails, an end to the death towers, an end to the vaccines, you know, an end to the Sodom and Gomorrah. We got an end to some of the, abortion clinics. We got some victories, but we got a lot of defeats. No Hillary for prison. And I don't mean to be an asshole. I hate kicking people when they're down. And, you know, it looks like, you know, this guy, this goose is just about cooked one way or another. You know, the last election was really close. And it just seemed like everything was going wrong for this guy. And then they were like, hey, you know, let's have ourselves a bin Laden moment and, fake that execution. And everybody will go out on the streets and they'll start cheering. And it'll be just like, just like the old days. Remember that day when you heard, Osama bin Laden was killed? I mean, everybody was out there like, yeah, bitches, right? Number one. And I think they were hoping for that. I don't think they got that. And then here comes Ron Johnson, like, oh, no. No, I don't think you guys did it. Maybe they did do it. But they certainly didn't provide the videos that would make you think they did it. Everything's grainy. There's nothing, there's nothing there to really say that they did it. And they just totally skirted like just about every question when it came to the tunnel. How did you excavate the tunnel in 15 minutes? Get the body parts, run the tests and confirm according to the timeline. Now we're seeing adjustments to the timeline, kind of like the Las Vegas Illuminati massacre. Remember, at first it was this, then that, then the other, but the security guard, who remembers that stuff? Anyone? Anyone remember yesterday's news? Well, look, it just seems like we got ourselves another Operation Northwoods. And as much as we love these guys out there, they're doing a wonderful job. I mean, it's, fantastic, presentation in terms of, mushroom clouds and, like the kind of the Tom Clancy raids and the like. What happened to that guy, Tom Clancy? But it just seems like there's things that just aren't fitting in this story. And it's worthwhile to note. Most people probably didn't even know there was a press conference, probably already forgot about the raid, moving on to something else with the impeachment, with the Halloween. People probably just thinking about how they're going to dress up like Dracula or some other, dark side.
Our forces isolated the compound and protected.
Some kind of dark side, scenario. And of course, Halloween is really the only day that libtards look normal. They go out there with their witch's hat. They go out there with like their pasty white face, like the Antifa and the like. Never forget who the enemy is in America. It's this force of darkness, dark side, look, they're all, gothic black. You know what I mean? Pasty white, methyl, talking communism, wanting to beat you up while they're screaming the words Nazi haters and the like. It's a zombie apocalypse type of scenario. Nonetheless, Halloween. Now look at this kid. Look what he does. Did you see that? Did you see that? Anybody see that? I think he got away with it. We could have done like a real short video just on that. I mean, you don't see this every day. The guy just like, it almost looks, it looks real bad. You know what I mean? But Halloween is really, a dark-sided holiday. It, most people remember the references to Hell Night and the like. And it's really a manifestation of occult ideologies in a way that's politically correct, that sells well. And now we've got, all of our children running around out there like ghouls and goblins or Disney pedophile characters and the like. And it really isn't a holiday that any of us should be participating in, even though we all have fond memories of chasing Tootsie Rolls and Snickers and the like. Beware of the devil in the red dress. Beware of the witches out there, of the Sodom and Gomorrah, of those that call evil good and good evil. Which side of the fence is Trump on? I think most people just want to see him do his job and be successful. I think that is the wish of every single person out there. That he could drain the swamp. He could put Hillary in prison. He could, investigate Obama for war crimes. He could lock up these former, chief officials from the FBI and the like, the coup members. I think a lot of people wish that this guy could do his fucking job instead of just horsing around. And, I think maybe this is the drawback of hiring a billionaire who really, at the end of the day, doesn't give a shit about what's going on the streets, because he's living in Trump Tower. He's living the billionaire life with the private jets and the butlers and the maids and the full service, and now he's being treated like a king. At the end of the day, he doesn't really care if there's a death tower, right across the street from your window. He doesn't care if you're getting vaccinated. He doesn't care if, if the Skynet, the automation is rolled out. Here's another real creepy video of robots that are going to be rolling out in 2020. It's got expressions. It's got AI. It can talk, move, walk around, and the like. And, this is just the beginning of what's coming officially. You have to wonder what they have unofficially. Westworld, perhaps? I think that's highly probable, to say the least. Who's really human out there? Wouldn't you like to know? But the robots are definitely getting more advanced. The ones that they're rolling out and selling to people, they've sold models like this already. And it won't be long before they replace, every job that you can imagine with a robot, because it'll be cheaper. $100,000, and that's it. No vacation, works 24/7, right? So you can't even compete with this type of technology. And it's, it's going to be rolled out on a massive scale. And, not only, on the economic front and the jobs front and the like, every job imaginable, drivers and farmers and, industrial workers, you name it. But also it's going to be implemented in, various security types of scenarios, like RoboCop, soldiers, and the like, all, linked into the Skynet, all under control of these people from Sodom and Gomorrah, San Francisco, and the like, promoting the Luciferian ideology, the anti-Christian agenda. They want to ban the Bible in California. Look at it now. You know what I mean? It's like the worst place to be in the world,
Our
practically.
forces isolated the compound and protected all the non-combatants. While clearing...
In any case, it's definitely headed in the wrong direction on so many different metrics. And now, they're banning free speech. They're calling you a Nazi. They're labeling people, terrorists and the like. It won't be long before they start rounding people up. And you can already see, the libtards, Nancy Pelosi and the like, gearing up to take over. And that's going to be a nightmare. That's going to be a nightmare as well. But, there's a right way of doing things, and then there's, what's going on right now with this administration, in our estimation, which is like, they've totally dropped the ball when it comes to taking out this New World Order. They should have locked all these people up, first year, shut them down before they had a chance to, cook up all this shit. And they've just let, this run away from them. And now they've become completely, impotent in their office. And, they're not going to be passing any type of legislation that benefits Americans anytime soon. It's just going to be a war, about impeachment. And, all of the news channels right now, it's all they talk about is politics, Democrat versus Republican impeachment, this witness, that witness, Ukraine, Russia. It's all about, this kind of conspiracy theory. But they're not talking about, the lead in the water, the fluoride. They're not talking about the death towers, the vaccines, the autism, life expectancy going down. They're not talking about, the eugenics program. They're not talking about, the zombification of America and the demonic, influence that we see everywhere. They're not talking about that stuff. Instead, they're just deflecting away from the big picture. And they're just having everybody just, look at the world, through the eyes of a cell phone. And that's basically it. You're just seeing the headlines and talking about what they want you to talk about. And that really is, bad news, ladies and gentlemen. I know we've got some other things that we wanted to talk about as well, but getting back to the automation here, it really makes you wonder about where technology will go. How long will it be before, they reinvent humans, if you will? And what's really interesting about life on Earth as we know it is, asking the question, well, where did we come from? And I think to get an understanding and appreciation of what's going on out there, you really have to look at the simplest form of life, a single cell bacterium, for example. And, we find nothing less complex than that we would refer to as living. And what's strange is that there's really no missing link between, just chemicals and life. Because the very minimum that would be needed for life to happen is basically the equivalent of nanotechnology. Technology that's far beyond what we can invent today, that far beyond what we can manufacture, like, from 3D printing, for example. They can clone, and certainly they have, but they can't just take raw materials in a laboratory and make life. And because it just requires, so much information, so much nanotechnology, so many little micro machines inside the cell that perform different tasks and the like. Literally nanotechnology governed by a programming language that we call DNA. I think everybody should go see the documentary Unlocking the Mysteries of Life. That is a big eye-opener when it comes to, where did life come from? How did we get here? And the like. And, when you look at the very start of what they would describe as evolution, how did they get there? There's just no pathway. There's just no way. They can't do it in a lab today. And when you look at the DNA, all we can say is that if they can do it in a lab one day, The only thing that will demonstrate is that it takes intelligence to make life. And I think if you want to find out more about where life truly began, it's right there in Genesis 1, chapter 1. They've been talking about this for thousands of years, and now science has proven it beyond any doubt. The law of biogenesis. Look it up, law of biogenesis. Life can only come from life. It can't just spontaneously generate from non-living materials, primordial soup. It's a very important idea to wrap your mind around. And it might seem a little, science-y. It might seem a little beyond. Look at this one. Look at this one. Huh? How are you going to know if that's a real one or not walking down the street? But, sorry to sidetrack there a little bit. But, the science tells us, beyond any doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that life was created. But they're hiding that from you. They're selling you something different, like Halloween, like the Santa Claus. Santa's an anagram for something else. They're trying to replace what that season is really about. The television is nonstop product placement for the dark side. That's what is going on out there. It's about the epic struggle of good versus evil. We're dealing with a force of evil, an intelligence, off-world, that has invaded this world and is attacking humanity. And if we don't address this issue like, people from another world invading Earth and trying to destroy the planet, terraform the planet, slow kill the population, unless we start looking at it like this, we're totally doomed. And all the people that are out there just giving candy, and talking, nonsense and not really, fighting this fight the way it should be fought, they're really serving the intents of the dark side. I did want to make some additional comments on this trick or treat video. They were giving out what looked like Hershey's, Willy Wonka, and perhaps, limited edition White House chocolate with the presidential seal. Made me wonder who got, how they were choosing who got what out there. I think that's a nice little fun fact. What kind of chocolate was in the basket? And they're like the big bars too. They didn't go cheap on the Halloween candy this year. They were giving out like, the king size chocolate bars. Very nice to see. We want to remind everybody to visit our website, stfnreport.com. We've got the mobile version kind of standard right now, and so it'll look similar when you go check it out, stfnreport.com. Let's see if we can modify the breaking news so people can see it. But it's super sleek, user friendly, and it features stories stories of the day that are definitely worthwhile. Slippery slope into degeneracy. Media keeps sexualizing children, and it must stop. And when you see what's in that article, ladies and gentlemen, Halloween nightmare. Oh, this video. I don't know if I should play this video, but they were talking about the Ukraine situation, and who do we got out there basically cooking it up. Well, this is why you're not seeing a whole lot of pushback in the Senate when it comes to Ukraine and everything that's going on, because everybody was involved, and not only in Ukraine but in the ISIS situation too. If we really were all about like truth and justice in this country, we would be investigating the war crimes, of Iraq, of Syria, and the true nature of 9/11. Was it an Operation Northwoods? Obviously. And the fact that people aren't talking about it is disturbing. Judiciary Committee says that Adam Schiff should be the first witness. Does he have any links with the whistleblowers? Is it a conspiracy? Look, I think the charges have been basically confessed to. You know, they released the transcript. The timeline of the withholding of the aid is pretty clear. I don't think it's I don't think it's equivalent to murder or anything like that, but I think it shows the kind of person that we're dealing with, you know. And you look at the G7 and the other things that are going on. It seems rather clear that this president is using the office for self-serving purposes and isn't getting the job done. Who remembers the speak and spell? Anybody remember that thing back in the day? You know, imagine everything that it took just to quote unquote invent that. Reverse engineer. Let's see. These fast food chains get an F for antibiotics in the food supply. Our food is illegal in most other countries. Looks good, tastes good, but totally nasty for you. And much more content on stfnreport.com. I think we'll have to leave it there for now. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And we'll just, have to cover the news the way it's, the way it flows into our news desk. We take no pleasure in doing these reports. And, sincerely, I think everybody likes everybody for the most part, although the libtards are kind of freaky. I think they bother most normal people out there. Give you the willies, you know what I mean? But otherwise, I think we all get along. I think a lot of people agree with Trump on a lot of issues, what he says, likes what he does on a lot of things. But again, from a truther perspective, rolling out the death towers and, throwing Assange in prison and the like, watching everybody get banned and really doing nothing, just, being the impotent president, Donnie Nixon. I think that's it. And look, the media has a responsibility. They're not doing their job. Everybody's being censored. So you might as well just say fuck it and just say, call it how you see it. People that disagree, tell it to Assange, tell it to the death tower coming near you. Enjoy your vaccines, the terraforming. The more you look into the background, the history, the worse it gets. 666 Fifth Avenue and the like. And for those that have been watching this show long enough, we've always said, hope for the best and expect the worst. And the reason we said that is because the red flags were there.
I probably identify more as a Democrat.
You would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses.
That is correct.
That is correct. I mean, that's a confession, another confession. And look, he's better than the others. You know what I mean? I think he's a better candidate, but he's still kind of a fuck up, and I think we can hopefully do better or get better. But are we going to get better? There's going to be no other candidate. We're basically stuck with this guy, and so we might as well just not give him a blank check. And I think that's the point. Now, in closing, I guess I want to make a little comment about this video, which seems really interesting. Now, if you can just pay attention to the fence where the crosshairs are, you actually see a light dash from top to bottom of that fence just before the rounds come in. That seems like some pretty freaky ass tech. You know what I mean? Because it just lines up with where all the targets are, just like that, and then here come the rounds. Spooky. Now imagine when this stuff becomes automated and it's hunting you because you're human and you're not plugged into the matrix. That's coming. These are going to be like the last humans, hanging out, trying to survive, right? The time to abort Skynet is now, not when they roll it out. Then it'll be too late. Just like when they're rolling people into the gas chambers and the like. You want to do that way before it's too late. So this is the time to act. Protest, stop 5G, do some silent protests in front of a Verizon store, Sprint store. Sign up for time at your city council. You can do it. Practice a little speech. You can fucking do it. You'll feel a lot better after you do one. And you'll do it again and again. It's just like everything else. First time it's tough. And then, there you go. You don't have to be a communications major to do public speaking. Just practice a little bit in the mirror, and don't go overboard. Don't try to bring everything into it. The pyramid on the back of the dollar bill and all that stuff. Just talk about the studies, and if you want more on that, check out our archives. We've done plenty of videos on these death towers. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And we'll leave it there for this broadcast. STFNreport.com. Until the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.